Speak it. Hey, guys, welcome. This is our second Silver Plus call that I am running, and it is May 13th, 2019. So excited to have you on, whether you're watching right now, on with us chatting, or listening to the replay. Again, this is a reminder that this call is totally for you and not for anyone else. And I mean that like this is for you to nourish yourself. If you don't need nourishment, then you don't need to be on here, right? And this is totally your business, and you get to choose which of these calls you want to be on. I'm sure that you have amazing upline leadership. I know because I know them and I love them. And they do calls, some of them. And I know that if you, you get to choose where you put your time. So I appreciate you choosing to put your time here today, if you are here or if you're listening. And I want to make the point again that this is your business. And so what you do is up to you. And anything that I am sharing in here is fully just for me to nourish you and inspire you, to guide you, but it is not to tell you what to do, because that is your choice. And why you choose to do this business is totally up to you. How you do it is totally up to you. And whatever success you're enjoying right now is because of what you do. And whatever failures you're suffering right now is because of what you do. And that's okay, because that's how we learn. And so if you are here to nourish yourself, then you're making a choice to learn maybe and do something new. Or at least maybe decide what you don't want to do or don't want to be. And that's always a good place to be. So, we had a really good call this morning. I do a call with another group of people as well. And we had a special guest on, and she is a Crossline Crown Diamond friend of mine. And honestly, I had no idea what she was going to say when I invited her to do the call. And I don't know her that well, but just based on one comment on a chat thread that I was in, totally precipitated me asking her to share some things on the call this morning. And it was so great because the energy was right there. And I just want you to trust your intuition. I do things like that all the time. They're not based on, knowing a lot about someone, but I think you can always tell someone's energy. And when you come from a place of like, what do I have to lose, or not worried about what anyone else thinks, or just a place of, just serving, then you can truly trust your intuition. If you're coming from a place of desperation or ego, then those things may not turn out so well. So it's something to think about. But one thing that came up on the call that I want to explore a little bit on this call is a few things. The first that really was on my heart to talk about today was just that thought of like, okay, this is my business, and what I do is important, and all of those things, right? We think, okay, I have complete control of my business and whatever, but actually that's not entirely true, because you are only in control of what you can control, which is what you do. You cannot control what anyone else on your team does, or me for that matter, or your kids or anyone else, right? So you can only control how you respond to something. You can only control what you can do. And so with that being said, the question for today is, and this is what came up on the other call, have you ever asked yourself, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? And I want to explore that and talk about, like, what does that really mean? And why do we ask ourselves that? And when do we ask ourselves that? And so I am recording this, but I really do want you to feel free to engage and share, because just me sitting up here talking does not serve that much purpose. I'm happy to talk a lot. I don't mind talking. I love talking. But I want to make sure that everyone gets something out of this. And the whole purpose for this is not to just be like me talking about like, ooh, how to close or how to meet more people or whatever, because you can get that anywhere, right? I mean, you can Google that shit. And you have enough videos for me on those things. What's really the hard work and like where I'm going to add value to you is like on the weird stuff like that you are just wondering about, like, why am I not growing? Why, like the real hard, gnarly stuff, the personal development stuff, all the like simple skills, like, we can chat about that if you want to. Just type in the chat, like, actually, Lindsay, I really do want to hear, like, how do you close or how do you meet new people or whatever. And I am happy to talk about that because honestly, if you just speak up, I will talk about whatever you want to talk about. But this was on my heart to talk about today. So I would love to go around and just ask you, when have you felt like you've wondered, like, what is wrong with me in this business? And let's explore that. Okay? If you want to speak up, go ahead. I know there's a lot of yellows on this call, so I don't want to call on anyone in particular, but like, if you want to be brave and like, I'm going to nudge you a little bit, there's not that many people on here. Like, it's really not, like, nobody's going to bite you. Then let's go for it. So who should I start with? You can unmute. All right, go Kirsten.
I guess so that asking, when do I think what is wrong with me? When do those times come? Mm-hmm. Probably happens for me largely because I don't always hit silver. So it's when I have legs that are not hitting where I need them to hit. I'll start, what's wrong with me? What am I doing? How come I have legs of people who don't want to do stuff? And I'm a unique person from the standpoint that I have a leg. One of my stronger legs is a Canadian leg. So I'm slightly removed from that leg. So anyways, that would be one of mine.
Think about it. Yeah. Like what's wrong? What am I not doing? Right. You're thinking, what am I not doing? Right. So
and I can answer it too. I mean, I'm hard on it, so I can tell you exactly what I'm not doing, So.
Well, that's the question. Sorry, I'm going to mute. Sorry, Megan. I just muted her. Okay, so when you think about like, what are you not doing? That's going to be different for everyone, right? Because the principles are the same for everyone, but how we do them is always a little bit different, right? So let me just hear what you think about what you're not doing.
Consistency is my hardest thing. I agree that if you treat this like a business, you will get paid like a business. It will be a business for you. And the months that I am actively pursuing that with my team, I see the growth. And the months that I get overwhelmed by other areas of my life, I see that as well. So consistency is for sure my hardest thing.
Yes. And so let me speak to that a little bit before we go to someone else. So I want to give kind of a counterpoint, right? Which is that you are not in control and you're not steering the ship. Imagine if like you could take that weight off your shoulders. Like, it's not up to you what your team is doing. You can't make them do anything. They're a total volunteer army, right? And all we really can control is our energy, right? And, what you just said is that consistency. And I want to totally just like throw this on its head, because I truly believe that if we're not doing this from a place of freedom, if we are like doing these sprints of like 1 full week or 2 weeks of like killing ourselves at the end of the month and then being too tired to like keep doing that's not a long-term sustainable business. I mean, for the past like probably, has it been 4 years now? I've only been working like 20 hours or less a week. Like right now it's like 10 hours because honestly, and that's not just because of my rank. Like I did a lot of work around this. Like, I mean, I was the one, you guys know, the ones who've been around a while, that I'm like, let's do videos, let's talk. Like was always doing that, right? this past year when I brought my daughter home, like I wasn't doing that anymore. And you know what? It didn't matter. And I think that you have to realize that if you take your ego out of it and realize that it's not about you, and really figure out, like, the real question is not what's wrong with me. The real question is, have I asked anyone why they are doing this? Like, what is their story? Like, why? I mean, because for me, it's all about the stories. And like last week, we talked about this, for those of you that weren't on, about like your story. Like, why? Like, most people that I talk to are doing this because they honestly have a very powerful story with the oils. Like, yeah, we could all learn to sell and sell anything, but the only reason we sell Young Living is because we believe in it and we know that it has worked super well. And we have some really like mind-boggling testimonies, right? That's okay. Mind-boggling testimonies. And those kind of testimonies are what keep us in this. Because honestly, like, how can we turn our back on those stories? Like, we want people to get better. And so every day that we can help somebody with, for me, it's like, I just want everyone to know about Ancient Red and Life9 and enzymes, because that's what really helped me with my asthma. Probiotics, enzymes, gut healing, like bone broth, all the things, right? And so for me, that's what drives me. That's what drives me, the stories. And so the question isn't what's wrong with me. It is how, can I help you today, right? Like, what can I teach today? And what is going to feel good about this business for me today? And if nothing feels good about it today, then what can I go do to fill myself up with something meaningful today? If this is not my purpose, then what can I do of purpose? Because as soon as you open yourself up to something of purpose, then you're going to welcome people into your lives that need help, that you're going to end up sharing the oils with, and it's going to come naturally that way. So I honestly think when you free up time, when you constrain your time to only 10 to 20 hours a week on this business, then that kind of makes you ask yourself, like, what do I like doing? Because for me, like, work was like an escape from like the things I should be doing. So I really challenged myself, like really did this year, by bringing my daughter home. That was really big challenge. Like, I've kind of learned that that's probably not for me. But anyway, really big challenge. Like, how do I do these new things? How do I learn new things? Because if you're not in a space where you have energy, good energy, then you're not going to be in a place where you're attracting people. And so then, if you think, well, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, that's a place of comparison. That's a place of comparison. So the reason we ask ourselves, what's wrong with me, or what should I be doing, is because you heard somebody telling you that you should be doing ABC when your heart's telling you to do XYZ, and it's totally different, right? So for the same reason, I'm not standing on here telling you these are the IPAs, these are whatever, because everyone has different lists, and I just personally don't agree with most of those lists. And if anyone says the word IPA to me, then I don't want to work. That's just me. So I don't like those lists, and I don't think I've ever posted. Maybe I have, maybe like in a moment of like, I'm so tired and I need to cut and paste something for y'all that's inspiring. And I like, somebody else posted this and it looked like a really good post. And so like every once in a while I'll cut and paste, but I'm sure most of you are like, it doesn't really seem like Lindsay when I post about IPAs. So, and I haven't done it in a really long time. What is an IPA? See? So someone new, Anna, you're asking the exact right question. You're totally someone new. Yeah, don't worry about it. It means, and because you're so red, I'm not even going to tell you about it. You're doing all the right things. Don't worry. These are just some terms people use. But anyway, when you compare yourself to others, that's when you're going to start asking yourself these really strange questions, like, what should I be doing? I think we all know what we're supposed to be doing. But if we don't feel that we have ownership over it, and if we don't feel like that that it's fun or that it's rewarding in some way and motivating to you in some way, then you're not going to do it. And I can't make you do it. And you know what? You can't make your people do it either. So, so then the question is, what can we do? Right? And, what can you do? What can you do? What do you have control over? that you can do every day that you love about your business? And I want everyone to answer right now, like just type what the first thing that comes to your mind and type it into the chat. Like, what can you do every day that you love doing, that motivates you, that's fun for you, that you feel is going to have some impact to your business? So you don't have to say it out loud, but I want you to type it in the chat and I will read them out loud, and I want to attribute it to your name for the recording. Love on others. Help them to feel important and worth it. Connect with my members. Connecting with friends and creating relationships. People. Really hearing what they need. Reach out and connect with someone. Do you see the theme here? What's the theme? Connection. That's the theme. Connection. Real relationships. People. People. Love. Helping people to feel important. Like, that's a rule for everyday life. Like, let's just not even talk about business. That's like what you need to do with your family every day and your other friends every day. Like, people that aren't in your business. Okay, someone wrote writing a daily post that she loves to write. That's totally me too. That is totally me too. I love to write. And if I don't have enough quiet time in my life, like if kids are screaming all the time or yapping at me, then I lose my ability to write. So that's where it's super important to know what your priorities are and what fills you up, because if you aren't creating time for the things that fill you up, like if you do like writing and you're not creating the space for yourself to write, like if you're too afraid to tell your family, okay, I'm putting a sign, like I have to learn how to do this. Like I still don't know how to do this well. Like that when my office doors are shut and I put a sign up, like that means do not disturb. Like setting a boundary to the things in your life that fill you up, because if you don't make the space to do those things, then guess what? You're not going to have you're not going to have it in you to connect with people. If you're angry and resentful of the people around you, do you think you're going to want to connect with more people? No. And so when you look at, like, if you like pull up your downline viewer and you're like resentful, like so-and-so left this business or she's doing this now or whatever, this actually came up on the call this morning. So this Crown Diamond that was talking to us said that she was sharing her story, and like towards the end, she said that she just got certified to become a yoga teacher. And I had everyone stop for a minute, and I said, and I interrupted her and I said, I want each one of you to imagine that one of your top leaders, and I want you guys to think about this too. Imagine right now that one of your, like the person you were running with, like the person that you thought was totally all in this, just one day told you, I'm going to go get certified to be a yoga teacher. How would you feel? Type it in the chat. Again, you're going to be anonymous because once I post the recording, it won't show that you typed it in. How would you feel if they're like, I'm going to go spend 400 hours of my time and I'm going to go learn to be a yoga teacher? Okay, getting some good answers here. Fearful, anxious, betrayed. Some of the ones we heard this morning were abandoned, all of that kind of stuff, right? So why? Like, people have time in their day to go nourish themselves with something they love to do. And if they're a yoga teacher, like, yay, they are going to be meeting all these new people who like want to better themselves, who are going to like relax and be less stressed about their life. Like, they could meet a lot of people that they could put oils on. So I want you to think about that. Like, when someone tells you they're going to go do something else, or they're having a baby, or they got sick, or whatever it is, that in your mind are you thinking that means fewer hours that they can work on Young Living, and that means less for me. That means that they're not in this. Let's unpack that. Let's unpack that. So your homework today is to go and reach out to that person that you felt betrayed by or abandoned by. I mean, unless they were like totally rude to you and you've set up a boundary, like, look, I'm not going to tell you to go reach out to someone that like you've totally severed ties. That is totally what I say. Again, this is all your choice based on your intuition. But the point is to create some energy here of knowing that when you do all the things you guys just said, what do we say again? Love on others, help them feel important and worth it, connecting with your members, connecting with your friends, and having real relationships, reaching out and connecting with someone. That's all I'm suggesting you do. Reach out and connect with people and love on them for what they are doing, because this is all so important. And when you create that energy of being in a place of gratitude and love for people, then you're going to attract more of that. If you're in a place of feeling betrayed and fearful and anxious, then you're just going to attract more of that, right? Like you could be so fearful and anxious about it that you push them further away. But if you're welcoming, if you're creating that relationship regardless, I mean, I don't know what any of y'all were doing. You're off doing stuff. I have people off doing all kinds of different things. So am I like, oh no, Kirsten's so distracted. Like she's totally not ever going to hit silver again. Like, I mean, imagine if you felt that energy from me. What energy do you guys feel from me? Do you feel that I'm scared about what you're doing? Do you think I care what you're doing? I don't know. I mean, I don't talk to many of you guys on a regular basis. You might think I ignore you. I don't know. Just my point. Like if you want my attention, then you have to ask for it. And I'm happy to talk to any of you at any time. And always happy to do these kind of calls or whatever. But my point is, you want to know that do you think that I tell you what to do? Or do you think I believe that you can do anything? You don't need my direction because you are self-directed. You are a self-directed learner. You are able to go into the groups and find what you need. If you can't find it in our groups, which I'd be shocked about, I mean, I'm not very organized, so maybe you can't find it. But if you ask me, I could help you find it. You could always like go sign up for some other training, like outside of our group. Like, I don't care what you do, right? You might get some bad advice there. I don't know. You might get some bad advice from me, but you're self-directed. And so I believe that you will either figure it out or you won't, but I can't make you figure it out. And so I want you to take that to your own team right now and think about, have I been helping them? And do they feel that I'm supportive or encouraging, or do they feel that I'm being controlling or telling them what to do? That's the question. Yeah, I mean, someone wrote, I wonder, I love that Anna, sorry, I didn't want to say who said it, but that's a great combo to being a yoga teacher, right? Young Living, oils, and being a yoga teacher. I'd be like, hey, that's awesome. Or if someone wants to go back to teaching, I'm like, great, they're going to teach kids again. But someone wondered if they are doing that because they're totally unhappy with Young Living, with what they're doing with Young Living, which is a great question. But again, unless you start asking questions and having a real connection with someone, you're not going to know. That's all just speculation. So I want to see if anyone else might have any new perspective on asking themselves, like, what's wrong with me? And or comparison kind of traps. So if anyone else wants to speak up, I'm happy to, or you want to type it in the chat, I'll read it out loud.
Hey, Lindsay.
Yes.
It's Donna.
Hey, Donna.
I just wanted to back it up a little bit because your comment about IPAs. So I mostly read, but I think I've shared before, I'm kind of almost well-rounded. And the IPAs, when you're talking about comparison, that's what cracks me up. Is I never heard you put that quite like that, or unintentionally had them almost in the same sentences. But those IPAs are like the death trap for me, because that, when I'm not doing those so-called IPAs, that's where I go into my, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not doing this? I need to be doing this. I should be doing this. Should. And that's that whole comparison thing. And that just was, my mind was just blown. I couldn't jump on sooner because I was getting detoured, so I needed to follow my directions. But I was like, oh my gosh, this is just that was just such a huge relief of like hearing that come out of your mouth. It was just so, just a relief to not feel so pressured to, take on somebody else, what somebody else says should be my IPA, when my IPA should be my IPA.
My IPA should be my IPA, right?
Right.
Again, what results you're looking for. I don't know what results you're looking for. I don't know. Right. We can have offline conversations about it, like, so I can understand that a little bit better. But like, my point is, like, what internally motivates you. Like, somebody might look at my business and say, like, in the very beginning, and tell me that I wasn't doing the right things because I wasn't teaching classes. I didn't teach a class till I was a platinum. So if I had seen all those IPA lists, imagine what would have happened to me. Like, if I had paid any attention to that. If somebody was like, well, but you're just writing posts, like, you're not doing this right. Because sometimes when I look at that kind of stuff, that's what I think someone's saying to me. Like, you're not doing this right. Which is like the worst thing that I could ever hear. Like, if someone tells me I'm not doing something right, I'm like, screw you. Right? And that's how I feel. Like, are you crazy? Like, clearly it's working, so I didn't teach a class till I was a platinum. I love writing posts. I love educating. I like doing, whatever. I clearly did this all wrong. I clearly did this all wrong, right? When I look at some of those lists, I never ran reports. I had only 15% of people on ER when I hit diamond. You probably all have more people on ER. Your ER percent is probably all higher than I had. I hit diamond at 15% ER. So clearly I'm doing this wrong. I did this wrong because I didn't have anybody on ER. So, why do we tell ourselves these things? If we completely work in our passion and in our purpose, and we do what fills us up, and we just literally put blinders on to what all these other people are saying that we should or should not be doing, then we can block out those voices of should. Because I didn't do anything the way that all these people are saying to do it right now. Nor have I ever told you to do. I say to focus on 3 stats, and these 3 stats are all, literally there was not much else I did, but I did really well at these 3 things, which was, I think you guys all know what I'm about to say, your own personal enrollments, right? People, connecting with people, all the things you just said, right? Impact that, are going to impact that. Helping people to understand the value of essential rewards, right? And helping other people to see how they can do this. So, how they can do this too. All the other stuff falls into place. But again, all of those things require connecting with people. All the things you just wrote, connecting with people will always be an IPA. Whether you connect with someone by taking a yoga teacher training class or doing jury duty. Frankly, every single place we go is an IPA, right? Because you're on the move. And that's something that I always just remembered in the back of my mind from my mom, who learned it from Barbara Corcoran, because she got hired by and worked for Barbara Corcoran for many years in real estate, is when you're stuck, move, right? When you're moving, and that means out of your house and connecting with people, then good things will always come from that. You're going to fill yourself up, because we're happier people when we're around other people. Even if you're a complete introvert, we still crave personal connection. Even an introvert, I'm sorry, you may not want to go hang out at a party, but you still want to be around a human. It might just be one human once a week, right? Everyone has different tolerance levels for lots of humans around. It might just be your spouse, but connect with whoever it is that is human around you, because our phones don't often allow us for that. Okay. I'm just looking to see the comments here. Doing the shouldas. Someone said they're spinning their wheels, doing the shouldas, and not working within her own strengths. And that yeah, I mean, you might be so busy working hard, but you're not doing the things that fill you up. And this has to be fun for you. Right. And I mean, when we like think we have to listen to all these people telling us what to do, you're not going to do the things that are the best for you. So yes. I want to kind of open it up. We have about half an hour left, but I want to make sure that there's a lot of folks on today. I want to make sure that I am available for like a Q&A. And this Q&A could be usage stuff, testimony stuff, anything you want to ask me, business stuff, life stuff. Go for it. Ask away.
Hey.
Yes.
Kim
Hey.
here. Hi. It's kind of like tied together with what I think you guys were just talking about. I was the one late on the call. But I feel like for me, my biggest struggle, I think, is that I think I've been like crippled by a lot of rejection lately, I think is what it is. And I just did like 4 classes in a week and had like 2 people show up total. And so like, I wasn't like, I think maybe I got too much of a hard shell where I'm just like, I wasn't fazed by it. And the one girl that showed up, she's like, how are you managing this? I'd be so furious. And I'm furious for you. And I'm just like, I mean, it's what happens. I think I sucked at, inviting people and doing the right follow-up. And like, I could list off all the things that I, feel like I screwed up on as part of it, but it was like, I became numb to the rejection. And so now it's like, just hearing you talk and just like the connecting with people and everything you just said, I'm just like, I think I'm like at that crippled place where I feel numb by rejection. That's probably the best way to explain it. And so I'm just, trying to regroup from here. I was on the phone with Tracy Nielsen right before getting on here, and she's been like pep talking me too. So like, I've got plans, but that's what I feel is crippling me right now, the rejection.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure that my response is going to be totally opposite, but what do you call it? Complementary to what Tracy probably chatted with you about, because she's so amazing and so helpful. And so take all of her advice. And again, that hardening shell means that you are hardening. I mean, not you, but if I were to ever be in that place, and I have been in that place before, then that hardening means that you are kind of hardening yourself to that connection, because it's in those moments that we are most vulnerable. And so when you harden yourself or numb yourself to something, you got to ask yourself, how can I make myself more vulnerable again? Because it's in vulnerability that we create connection. And so, yeah, tough it out, like plow on down and like, whatever, right? Like, like, let me see if I can just harden myself to this rejection and keep going because everybody gets no's. Yeah, that's all true. And like, how can you be more vulnerable through that connection? Because that's what's going to draw people to you. So like, yeah, I get rejected now, even like a lot. Like I had a new friend I made through homeschooling. And I was like, oh, this is going to be such a great friend. She came over and we had such a great talk while our kids were playing. And then like towards the end, she asked what I did and like saw all the oils. And I was like, well, I do oils. Like, look at all of them everywhere, and I thought she already knew that because we had been friends on Facebook for like 2 weeks. So I'm like, surely she knows, but she kind of didn't. And I think whatever I had said, like, just kind of made her a little bit skittish. Like, she was someone who had a kid before and, wasn't very connected with her, whoever enrolled her. And so I don't think she was she said she was inactive, but maybe she was active still. I don't know. But we started to talk about, I was like, well, I don't know. She's like, well, I probably need some stuff. And I'm like, well, what do you need? Like, what's going on with you? And like, we talked about her daughter, whatever. But then she fell into like this total black hole. And I could have been like, and like, it's happened 2 other times with people who've told me that they are inactive and need to reactivate. And I'm like, is this like becoming a theme? Like where people that's their excuse, like telling me that they're inactive and that they want to reactivate with me, but then they never do. So I've had it happen like 3 times in the past few months. And so I could harden myself to that, or I could just sit, for me, it's like, I think you have to come from a place of like, she needed the oils to help her daughter with this thing we talked about. Like, she still does. Don't really think that problem has been resolved. And so I will continue to love on her around that. And it really, like, it's not a personal rejection. Like, she just maybe doesn't know me well enough yet, but she'll get to know me. And I'm going to continue, like, we kind of like through some other way, like ended up connecting again. But the point is that I think when you have a lot of people who aren't showing up for events, it has a lot to do with that lack of connection. Like, how do you make a connection with people to want to come to something? Well, maybe they don't want to come to an oils class. Maybe they want to come to, you know, a class about making sauerkraut or something that you love to do. Maybe your energy isn't behind the oils 101 class anymore. And so when you post about it, you're kind of just doing this cut and paste, like, this class is going to help you learn blah, 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 blah. And you've said it so many times that people are ignoring that aspect of you. But if you were like, I know you said last week that you're very passionate about your God and everything. Like, maybe you need to start up a new Bible study, or maybe you need to, you know what I mean? Like, something you are passionate about and you can put energy behind. You know, you kind of missed the part of the call where we were talking about the yoga teacher training, but like, you got to find that energy somewhere. You got to find that energy somewhere, because when you post about something that you have high energy about, I mean, in the beginning you had high energy about the oils, but maybe you don't have this high energy now. Or maybe you need to find what is high energy for you about the oils right now. Like, what's your latest story? What has happened lately in your family life with the oils? Have you had a testimony like in the past 6 months? If you haven't, then maybe there's some products you need to try. Maybe there's some things you need to do, you know, like maybe somebody in your family needs to have a breakthrough. How can you help them do that? Because you need that energy, like about some random oil, you know, whatever it is to really like give you that life again. Because if you're inviting people and they're not coming, it's because they don't know why they should come, or they're not feeling the excitement from you. And so maybe you need to have some totally unrelated class about organizing or Bible study or healthy living, and I don't just mean healthy living, sorry, it's a really bad example. How about like sustainability, like how, you know, you never let people give you straws at a restaurant. I'm talking like silly little things, but that people are so into right now and want to learn more about, like how I compost. I mean, these are just kind of these like new things that, I mean, they're not new, but I feel like people want to learn about. I'm making yogurt in my Instant Pot right now. What? You know, like people like want to know how to do that. So think of what that is for you. I don't know what it is for you, but don't harden yourself to the rejection. I think, where's the vulnerability in it? And you can say, hey, I've been posting. I feel like I haven't been showing my energy for this as much lately. And I'm just so sorry that I haven't. But I am, like, be honest with people. Like, that's the vulnerability is where the connection comes in.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does that help? I'm sure that complimented all the things.
No, it didn't. It totally went with what Tracy was saying, because you're like, where's your passion? And like when we were talking, I was like, out of like at the end of it, I'm like, oh my God, Cortistop is like changing my life right now. And it was the one new thing I've tried. And I've been battling depression and anxiety for like ever. And it's just been like, I should not be doing as well as I'm doing this week, had it not been for me starting Cortistop 2 weeks ago. And I can physically feel the difference. And that's what's huge for me. And so I'm excited to start sharing that, but I really appreciate everything you're saying about just the passion. And it's cool how the two conversations just piggybacked so beautifully.
Post an event that's like living well with depression.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, people would sign up for that. I mean, how many of y'all would sign up for that? Like, people would sign up for that because people want to know, like, how do I deal? How do I cope? Right? Coping skills. Anything you can give people coping skills with is huge. So yes, new testimonies are always going to be life-changing. And that's when you post about that kind of stuff. I mean, this is like my life. Like, I'm coming in and learn something new and I'm like, what? I'm word vomiting all over y'all about it, right? But that's what people want. That's what they connect with. Thank you. Next question. Anyone else?
Well, I don't know if it's kind of a silly question, but when you're creating these events and classes, like how much do you try to balance? Because we have some amazing resources and like classes that speak to these things. Even like one the other day was sadness and sleep, you know, and it's like, it's a great. So should you really be careful though to balance that with your personal stories and like put that out there more than having to tell people like exactly what they should do? That's what I kind of in classes, I'm like, how much do I talk and connect and how much do I just give people what they want to know? Because some people just want you to tell them like, this is how many drops and exactly what you do, you know, and I get that, but it's like, I want you to get excited. That how much is that going to help you truly get that you can own this, you know, your own healthy lifestyle and everything?
I am, look, and it's just kind of leaving out the 101 class. All the other classes, I feel like when you share them and cut and paste, your energy is not going to come through. It's like kind of like the lazy man's approach to running a Young Living business. And I actually think it's more work, because when you like have to set that up and you're cutting and pasting and you're scheduling the posts, like you might think that's work, but like that, the energy behind that is right. And you're not even reading it. You have no idea what it says. Like, can you imagine the energy behind that? It's like you're like exhausted and you're like, I got to do something for my business. Say, oh, class. Okay, I'll cut and paste. Like,
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, as you're talking, I'm like, yes, I get that. So I've been going about it all wrong, but like working my tail off, you know, but I'm like, it just isn't life-giving at all, you know?
If it's not life-giving and there's no energy behind it, especially now with, I mean, just look, Facebook, it was a great tool. It's not really anymore. It's not what it was, right? I mean, that people aren't seeing the posts, right? Unless it's something like engaging from you, like with the great energy behind it, that people are, you know, it's yours. It's not like, I saw this post from so-and-so yesterday and thanks a lot for that. I mean, like, I'll do some of that just because I want to get the information in the group. And I know like many of you are going to look for it, whether, you know, whatever it is. But like the posts where people are really going to listen to me are the ones about my story, my excitement, my vision, my whatever, right? And that, I think that when you're doing a class, even like 90% of it that is going to sell somebody is going to be your story and people connection and edification. You know, there are always going to be greens and yellows who want to know, and reds who want to know the details. But honestly, like, I know it's hard if you're like green to not give all the details, but you can give them. I give them to y'all, right? Like, I don't think you would say like Lindsay doesn't ever tell me what she's doing, but I say it in the context of what I am doing. And I rarely share products that I don't use. Like, it's like, I don't really have a story around it. If I haven't used it, then I'm not going to post about it so much. Like, I'm just not. And we don't have to share about every product. But we should share about the ones, I mean, you have plenty to share about the ones that you're using. If you're not using certain ones, then again, that comes back to like, how can you create another testimony? Like, go and use it, right? But share what you use and share the stories, and be like, people want to see you and they want to see what you're doing. And so all you can say is, look, I help my asthma with this, that, and the other, and then the other. Like, I don't know what's going to work for you, but this is what I did. And I know that gut health, when I did research about it, blah, 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 blah. But when you start, you know, just kind of cutting and pasting from somebody else's stories and start telling like, here's the list of all the things. And, you know, we do create some classes and scripts for y'all. But that's really for you to like do your own research and create your own story. Like, I think it's really hard to have a hormones class if you haven't done one darn thing for your own hormones. Like, I'm sorry, like, it just seems very disingenuous, you know? Does that answer your question? Yeah. I don't think I've ever like been a like cut and paste kind of class person. Like, but maybe that, you know, again, you don't need to recreate the wheel. Use it as a framework, you know, like it's like printing an outline, right? Like, we always put something in there, but like ultimately the stories are what are going to sell, not the facts. Even to a green, And they can always, if they're showing up at your class, if a green is showing up at your class, then their mind is pretty well made up. They've probably done a lot of research before they've shown up at your class. They're not just going to show up on a whim like a blue might, right? So, and I know they're going to be the ones that are asking you for the details, but don't ever feel like you have to give them or be the expert, because you're not. But you can say, hey, I don't really know why this worked for me. I think it has something to do with gut health, but this is a good book to read about that. The one that I read that I really liked, yeah. Yeah, the greens are definitely going to do their own research. So you can't talk them into it. But they're the ones who are asking for these specifics, but you don't always have to give it to them. Does that help release that energy? Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. And again, these are come back to shouldn't I be doing that? Shouldn't I be doing all the classes? Wow, I paid for this service, whatever, boiler, whatever. And it comes with all these pictures and all these classes. Shouldn't I be posting them? No.
That's exactly what it is. It's I should. They're there and they're beautiful there. And they're whatever, and I should use them. So no. Yes.
Yeah, the ugly photo of you with this sticking out of your nose, this is going to do better than the pretty picture, with the lip gloss in front of the vase and the flowers. Telling you. Totally. Just, right? My lip gloss smells like peppermint. That's going to do better than the pretty picture. I'm telling you, because there's pretty pictures are a dime a dozen these days. You can shoot, all the people who take pretty pictures can shoot me on that one. That's fine. But most people don't take pretty pictures. So, including me. Okay, next. 10 more minutes. It's at the tip of your tongue, and you're just I don't want to ask. I don't want to ask. I don't want to be the one to ask. Just ask it. It's okay. There's no dumb question.
I'll ask. Any tips on really posting inside the groups? I have a group, just a usage group, and probably have about half my team in there. I'd say engagement is pretty good. It's not too bad. Get, pretty good engagement, but I want to post more, and I'm hiding behind myself in my group a lot as opposed to posting on my private timeline. And I really need to get out there and do it. And I'm just so scared to do it. So I hide behind my group because it's the people that I selected to be in there, not my whole 1,000 people friends list. So I don't know, maybe just some encouragement to get myself out there to everybody.
The question is, what do you think you need to do to get yourself out there?
I think really kind of solidify my story. My story is so personal and it's so raw. And I think putting my health history out there, and maybe I just got to start small and just a little at a time.
What do you think would happen if you shared some of that health history?
I'd probably get a lot of Me Too's, a lot from friends and stuff. It probably would be positive. It's just myself holding myself back, I think.
What would you say? Write up the post and pretend you're someone else and you were reading the post.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
How would you feel?
I'd feel I could kind of connect with the person a little more because they told me something vulnerable.
But your story, I'm not asking you to share it on here.
Yeah.
But what if you read someone post your story? If someone else, Victoria, had your story and posted it.
Yeah.
And you read it, how would you feel?
I'd probably feel she was open and honest.
But even just let's say the story was depression.
Yeah.
And she shared that when you read it, and it what would you feel? And if it was your story too, and you were that's me.
Yeah, I would feel I would feel I'd had a connection with her. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know,
I'm such an introvert. It's crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's, you know, introverts love to write though, right?
Yeah. And I love to write, and yeah. Yeah.
So where do you think you could post that to feel more comfortable?
I could definitely post it. I could just like kind of like tailor it, write a good post, put it on my personal timeline.
On Facebook or on
Um,
Instagram? Like, where do you think you could post it?
I feel more confident on Instagram. Yeah, I like Instagram more because I'm connecting more with strangers that don't know me. So, and I feel like I create like different connections there. I love it. Yeah.
Hey, you know, that's how I built my business, with the
Yeah.
strangers who I connected with. I think I felt like the people that I knew weren't the right people for this. Something was leading me to believe that. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys, I've never even enrolled my sister.
Yeah.
So,
And
I
that's
mean,
I lack in enrolling more than educating with my team and inspiring my team. And the people that I have enrolled, you know, at least like a good third of them are still on ER after all these years, and they're doing great and they love the oils. We get together all the time and we connect all the time. And I've got a small personal enrollment group, but they are invested. They're invested. So I've got to get myself out there. But I did in the beginning, the first like 2 years of my business, I really focused on like leads and people that really like, I chased people for the oils that almost were never going to jump in. Like they had such a long way to go just to be like qualified leads to get into the business. Yeah. And I chased a lot of people to do the business that I really didn't want to do the business with. It's kind of crazy. I'm shooting myself in the foot for it, but you know, people that have since, you know, quit and just, you know, oh, I'm good. I made silver. I accomplished that. I'm good. I'm done.
mm-hmm.
You know, and so I'm looking for the right people, you know, and really being like, yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah,
have to start somewhere. I mean,
yeah,
you have to
yeah,
start somewhere, and, you know, can think about like what people might think, but like, or someone just typed in, they don't have, you know, any social media platform at all. When I started my blog, I had there was like, it had to start somewhere. Like there was
yeah,
nobody looking at it or reading it. And there was no likes on social media, and there, you know, there were no, like we all start at zero, right?
yeah,
We all start at
yeah,
zero. So you have to start somewhere. So anywhere that you can feel comfortable and confident sharing a story is where you should share it. And
yeah,
then, you know, as you get maybe good engagement and interaction around something, then you can share a little more about that, and you'll probably feel more confident sharing it somewhere else too.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think you answered
yeah,
your
I did.
question.
Yeah. And you guys are answering all of my questions already, which is great. I'm in such control of my team and creating everything for them that I'm not focusing enough on what makes me happy doing my thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of just like serving all of their needs, and I'm not serving what I need for my business. So I'm
Well,
kind of
and a
spinning
lot
my
of us,
wheels.
right? But that means that you're not filling your cup up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're just cutting and pasting stuff, then you're not filling up their cup either, really, because it's
Yeah.
just, you know, fluff. I mean, the other thing is just helping your body, right? I mean, our
Yeah.
stories are not complete. I mean, you know, and they're constantly evolving. Um, you know, as you fix one thing, it's like peeling layers of an onion. And so, you know, anything that like happened to you 5 years ago or 4 years ago or 2 years ago, like it's not what's happening right now. And, you know, the people who need to hear from you right now need to know what's going on with you right now. Like the story we just heard about cortisol. Like, I want to hear
Yeah.
about that. You know, like
Yeah.
these are like, I feel like my newsfeed is so cluttered with like graphics and sale posts and, you know, just cut and paste. And like, what stands out for me is when I see something from someone that I'm like, oh, like that's new, that's real. I want to read that, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest comments I get, DMs I get on Instagram are that, oh, it's like so refreshing to see your feed that's not carefully curated and, you know, generic, right? Like we use the term in my house a lot, like generic. Like we'll be like, we'll see some new restaurant and we're like, generic. Like, you know, just not like, we know it's not real, right? I mean, you can just tell, right? So are you being generic or are you being real is really the question you have to ask yourself. And you have to peel that layer of the onion, right? So wherever you get stuck in this business just means that you got another layer of the onion to peel and another layer of vulnerability that needs to come up. You know, I think this business is the best form of therapy in that sense because you have to figure it out. And you might just need that next story, right? Maybe it's that you spend the next year like focused on that next piece of the story and that's enough, you know, and then you see the shift. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want anyone to feel that they still have some kind of illness that they need to fix, you know. We all need to fix that because you can't be a servant. You honestly cannot be a servant from a cup that's empty. I mean, you can't serve somebody a cup that's empty. Right. And so you have to fix this stuff, you know, and it doesn't mean that it has to be completely fixed. Because again, like new stuff is going to come up. Like I could get something tomorrow. Right. I mean, I don't know. My point isn't that like you have to fix your entire health and be like this perfectly fit, you know, whatever, right. Happy individual. No, I think the point is to be vulnerable in what you are working on right now. And that all of the rest of the stuff, like, frankly, does not matter. What people connected with me about was me, not like perfectly primed posts about whatever XYZ. Does that make sense? Okay. Thank you guys so much. That was a fun call. I'm happy to have you all on and for you to all step outside your comfort zone and share and ask questions. And we'll just continue on next week. Bye-bye.